Welcome back to Preparing for the Unexpected. Today we are talking with Andrew Zeigler from Tempest Risk Management. Andy, great first segment there, talking about assessment and implementation of AI on the first pillar. Now let's move to the second pillar that you wrote in your articles, and this one is about cyber defense. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So this is the piece that I have a passionate for because again, as many people as there are that are excited about AI and what it can bring, there's a lot of fear out there as well. So I put together, this is actually from a workshop that I recently presented to the Small Business Association conference down in Orlando. And it's the cyber security or cyber defense in AI for small and mid-sized businesses. Now, there's really two components to this. First, there are what are the threats that are out there and what do they look like? And then the second part is how do we defend against them? And luckily, that one is a pretty easy three-part protection and defense method that we can get into, when we have a couple minutes.
Okay, well, let's start on that. What are the different threats that are out there that we should be aware of?
Sure. So in the presentation, I really organized them into six primarily different types of threats. First is AI enhanced phishing and smishing. Okay, now we all know what phishing is, which these are the fake emails that pretend to be somebody else. But imagine an AI agent who almost instantaneously has not only scoured all public information available, publicly available information about you and your company, but even information on the dark web as well, in order to basically build and develop a customized, not only just single phishing or smishing email, but being able to hit you from multiple places at the exact same time, helping to reinforce the legitimacy of that particular message. So, for example, imagine if you got a phishing email from someone purporting to be your bank, right? And then at the exact same time, you also got a text message claiming to be from the bank saying, hey, did you also get our email that we sent? If you were a lot of people, if you're getting two different messages from the same person about the same topic from two different vectors, you might be able to lend a little bit more legitimacy to that particular attack. So the enhanced phishing and smishing, not only, some of the classic ways that we usually have always trained people in how to identify a phishing email is to look for misspellings, incorrect grammar, improper grammar, that sort of thing, things that may not look like it was written by somebody who wasn't real. Well, again, if somebody's using AI in order to develop this, they can get around all of that. So some of the classic, anti-phishing recognition techniques really aren't going to work anymore. But the good news is that there are some that will still work quite well, such as URL interrogation, or looking at the actual links that you're being asked to click on, and basically determine. You have to understand the proper URL structure in order to determine, is this a legitimate URL or not. Same thing with the sending email address. That is usually still a pretty good indicator and not something that AI can fake very well. So keep that in mind as well about what AI is really good at faking right now and what it's not great at faking because of just the basic way in which our technology services still operate today.
I have to ask quickly, what does
Sure.
smishing stand for? Because I know people
Uh,
ask.
Sure. Smishing is basically just fake text messages. So you probably get a lot more of the fake or phishing text messages than you do. It's SMS phishing is what it's supposed to stand for. It's basically short for SMS phishing, is what smishing is.
Okay. I couldn't help. The first time I ever heard that term, I thought smash, meaning all kinds of
Yeah,
coming in all at once. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the way I
absolutely.
interpreted it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so continuing on, as far as AI's ability to fake things are the deep fake impersonation scams. So this is the ability, and I'm sure we've all seen this before, the ability to create either a fake voice or audio of a person and impersonate somebody using deep fakes, or even their actual face. There's already been billions of dollars lost in fraud from successful scams using audio, fake audio and fake video to a lot of different people. Now, the defense against this is to verify unusual requests. Look for anything that may seem even the little bit out of order, and if asked to do something like, especially anything like illegal transactions or financial transactions, especially large financial transactions within a company, make sure that you have multiple methods of verification, right? So that you're not just relying on a verbal authorization or a video authorization or approval or instruction. Making making sure that you're getting it in writing. Even, same way that we've talked to people before about, well, what if I get an email from my bank, but I'm not sure if it's real or not? We tell them if you're not sure, you contact the bank directly via the method that you are comfortable with. Don't call the number in the email. Don't click on any links in the email or text. Same thing as before. You go and make a contact with the organization via a trusted method that you can utilize in order to get there, in order to verify the transaction before executing it. Same way with deepfake impersonation. If you're not 100% sure, or if the numbers are high because of financial transactions and things like that, double the verification via a method that you initiate in order to engage the person that you need to talk to, and just make sure to double check in that way. It may seem a little bit unusual at first, but it's a way to protect the company, which is pretty easy to do. It's sort of like your own multi-factor authentication, if you think about it, which is one of the three key defenses that companies should continue to employ in order to defend themselves.
We'll get to those shortly. What's
Yeah, exactly. So let me go ahead and go through the other types of cyber threats that are out there. There's adaptive malware and automated vulnerability discovery. So this is basically AI-powered viruses and AI-powered computer systems that will scan all of your computer systems, all of your SaaS applications, all of the applications that your company may have access to, in order to try and find a vulnerability. So in essence, this is the same thing that scammers and hackers and threat actors have been doing for a couple of decades now. It's just that it's at an automated pace, so it can be a lot higher at scale, and that the malware can actually self-adapt and self-write itself even while it's within the core systems, in order to evade detection, as well as make sure gather as much information as possible. The other thing that a lot of the viruses and malware has been doing lately over the last couple, like I said, over the last couple of decades, is that it's not necessarily targeted or trained to be disruptive. Yes, there's still ransomware out there for certain bad guys, but there's a lot more nation state information. The information and data that companies can collect by scanning and keeping an eye on it, basically copying information that a company is producing, is a lot more valuable than just shutting them down and getting a one-time ransomware payday. Because if you do that, chances are the company's either going to shut down if it's a small business at that point, or they're going to significantly enhance their cybersecurity in order to probably not get hit again. But what a lot of these, a lot of the viruses are doing right now is actually injecting themselves into company systems undetected, and just sitting there, gathering and absorbing, sponging as much information as they possibly can, and then sending all that information back to the threat actor or nation state, whoever it is that's gathering that information, to eventually build a larger and larger data set of information that can attack the company and basically cause disruption other ways, and the company might never even know it. So the best way to defend against AI adaptive and automated vulnerability discovery is actually, this is the second of the three defense pillars, is fight fire with fire. A lot of the antivirus companies that are out there already have AI agents that are being trained in order to detect the adaptive malware and AI adaptive malware and AI vulnerability scans. So they can defend, because a lot of the new AI generated malware that's being developed can develop and evolve so rapidly. You need to have something on the other side, defense, that can evolve just as rapidly against that defense. So this is one of those cases in which you're going to want to fight fire with fire.
Mhm.
That brings us, the last couple are really going to be about cybersecurity evasion. So this is the same type of thing where the viruses can actually evade detection. And then password cracking is another one as well, where the AI, I think, we actually looked at some of the numbers, and I want to say it was 2 years ago, even with just some of the, basically, the average computer that you could have, or average ability to crack, say, an 8-character password would take something like 42 years or something like that. Now, with the advent of AI, basically just password cracking at machine speed, basically guessing passwords based on information that it can gather from you or an individual. Now it takes about 8 minutes in order to crack
Wow.
that same complexity password. Yeah. So, but the best way to defend against that is going to be multi-factor authentication. Basically consider that most of your passwords probably are going to be cracked. There are other strategies when it comes to password management, because the reality is everybody has so many different systems. You're not going to have 75 different complex passwords that are out there. that's just the reality. So what I usually suggest is that you basically have some throwaway passwords that you only use on sites and applications that you're okay if they get compromised. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. But have very specific, complex passwords for any and different passwords for every financial system, healthcare, privacy, legal system, anywhere where you're going to protect your most critical data and information. That's where you're going to want to do two things. One, make sure you use unique passwords, specifically that you only use for that particular application or with that company. Don't reuse them. And then the second thing is use multi-factor authentication as well. And if you think by changing your passwords every 3 months, just by instead of moving your, let's, Cincinnati 123, and then your next password is 123 Cincinnati, and you think that that's a very effective way in order to change your password, well, guess what? AI is thinking the exact same way that you are. So that's really just not going to do it anymore. The password cracking capabilities are becoming more intelligent, and they're figuring out the way that humans tend to go ahead and shift their passwords around. And so that's going to make it easier for them to break into those passwords.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of different passwords, and boy, sometimes that's a challenge. Try to remember.
Yeah, it very much is. It very much is. There are some, key services and password sharing services like LastPass and things like that, which I don't have a ton of experience in, so I don't have any one that I would recommend necessarily, but they can help out as well. It'll be interesting to see how they evolve over the next few years. And then the last piece is really about the data poisoning and fake reviews. That this can be pretty significant. So, I imagine, a few years ago, you've probably seen, news articles. There's a restaurant out there. They got a couple of bad Yelp reviews. There's a whole capability and process that they can go through in order to remove and adjust those reviews, but the damage to the reputation of the company is still done. Now, imagine that you generate an AI agent because you don't like a particular company or a restaurant, and you tell that AI agent, you program it to leave a fake review once a week from a different person. And babe, don't give a 0 star every time, but just give a 4 star rating one week, a 2 star rating the next week, maybe another 3 star rating the next week, just enough in order to bring down their overall rating, bring them down across the competition. And because you're hitting them with so many really difficult to detect individual reviews over time, over a period of a year, you can pretty much destroy that company's reputation and they may not even be the wiser. So data poisoning and fake reviews is a big concern that's out there. And, it's one of those things that are going to be tough to defend against. So basically, maybe not rely on, necessarily those the reviews that you're going to be getting on a lot of systems. And in fact, a lot of those sort of, word of mouth and review applications, I think are really going to start to, once AI kind of starts to take over and poisons that as a data set, I think the general consumer is going to become less and less reliable on them. They're not going to be looking at and giving as much credence to things like Amazon reviews or Google reviews or things like that because AI is so pervasive that it's not really reliable anymore.
Yeah, I don't pay a lot of attention to those reviews anymore because I can see just like that doesn't make sense to me. And really for the business who's losing their reputation, how do you defend something that never happened?
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know,
very
as far as
difficult.
I can't prove otherwise because it never happened, so I can't prove anything.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
you got it.
I just stop
So you're
I stop paying attention to them.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think companies are that could be valuable. That could actually be a strength for small businesses out there, but a little bit of a challenge as well, because those who may have relied on their, rating reputation are now going to have to find other ways in order to reach their target audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's look at the defense side now. You mentioned one already.
absolutely.
How about the other two?
So there's three overall. I'm gonna just name them. Number one, start with the basics. Number two, strengthen your weakest link. And number three, fight fire with fire. So starting with the basics, this is going to be the same cybersecurity hygiene that your company should have been using for the last 10 years or so is really now no longer an option. And if you don't do this, you're going to be hit, right? Basic cybersecurity hygiene. Don't share your passwords. Use strong, unique passwords for those accounts that you can. Probably the number one most effective thing that every company can do is enable multi-factor authentication on everything. Because AI might be able to try and convince you to click on something and put in your password, but if it cannot, if it's going to require also a phone text message or an authenticator code or some other sort of verification that AI is not going to have access to, this could very well be your final line of defense against AI being able to basically trick you into getting access to your information. So starting with those basics, keep all software updated, your antivirus and anti-malware software, making sure to enable the AI portions and AI features. It might cost you a little bit more, but it's not substantial. I think it's like an extra $10 a month. I use Norton antivirus. I think it costs an extra $10 a month to have their AI detection services. It's worth it, honestly. So making sure you do that, using firewall and secure file sharing platforms to protect all of your data. Just make sure to tighten up the walls, enhance your security. But if you just have the basics done, you should be pretty well prepared in order to get out there. The other thing to keep in mind is that in the past, threat actors tend to, because there was a limitation of time, they would usually go after the weakest, right? The weakest of the lot, or the ones that appear to be most unprepared, because they were the ones that are going to take the most time in order to crack, right? Because this can be a time-intensive thing in order to get done. But now with AI, it pretty much operates at scale. So even that little mom and pop shop that was just never big enough for hackers to target before, AI doesn't care. It's going to try. And even if it can scam $15, $20 from 100,000 different businesses, it's still worth it for the threat actor in order to do, because it's no skin off their nose. It's the AI that's doing all the work, not them. So starting with the basics, number one most important thing. Number two, which is strengthen your weakest link, which is your human beings, your people. If you're an organization or a company, and this kind of comes back to the basics, make sure you are training your employees. The human element, the human factor is going to be the weakest link when it comes to AI cybersecurity. Your real intelligence, your human intelligence, not against your artificial intelligence. Train the employees regularly on phishing, smishing, and deepfake threats. In fact, there's a lot of great companies that are out there which offer anti-phishing training, where they actually send a phishing email to everybody in the company, and then if they click on the link, it keeps track of it. It's a whole program. Fin Security, based right here in Delaware, is one of them. PHIN, that does a great job, but there's others that are out there. So taking advantage of some of those programs. Run phishing. There's a phishing simulators. Run those phishing simulators to build awareness, and establish clear guidelines with a cybersecurity and acceptable use policy, so staff know what to expect. If you don't have a cybersecurity and acceptable use policy, we have them on our website. You can go to tempestrisk.com or tempestnavigator.com, download those policies. You can implement them right now, or frankly, feel free to use AI. Use AI to say, develop for me a cybersecurity policy and training program for my company, and use that as a starting point to implement something that's a little bit smarter for your company and help to protect you. Now, the last piece is going to be fighting fire with fire, and we had mentioned that before, and that's going to be about deploying AI-powered security tools, AI-powered monitoring and response services, automate patching and backups as well. So back up your data in secure locations so that even if your data is compromised by AI or traditional cyber threat, you can at least restore from backup. Think about it like this. If you owned a hardware store, right? How awesome would it be if you had a whole nother empty hardware store right next door with everything ready to go, that if your main hardware store burned down, you could just open the one right next door, open it right up, and everybody could start going in there. That's essentially what a data backup does for your virtual companies and for any of your virtual operations in any company, is by having a complete copy of all of your data, all of your processes. If your primary data set is compromised, you can restore from backup and keep your operations going. It's like having a whole nother business just standing by, ready to deploy if your primary company were to suffer. And then the other thing is, make sure you have an incident response plan, so that way you do react quickly and fast, with a business continuity plan as well as an ISO compliant IT disaster recovery plan, which I've always paired both of those things together: your business continuity plan, your ITDR, as well as your emergency communications policy. You put all three of those things together, it makes up a substantial company's business continuity program. So it's a business continuity plan, ITDR plan, and emergency communications. So making sure that you have that IT component in order to enhance your overall business continuity program is going to be a key task to implement, a key thing to implement, to make sure that you're ready to respond should the unthinkable happen.
Yeah, it's important those plans work together too. They can be used
Absolutely.
in isolation if needed. If it's just an IT thing, you can reference it if you need to. But if it's bigger, like some of the things you're talking about, it is adaptable and scalable to the event and works cohesively with the other plans as well.
Exactly. And training as well. We've been doing quite a few One of the things that we developed recently was a desktop training scenario. So it's a workshop, it's a 2 hour workshop that we have for any company that's out there. And we basically develop three scenarios that we walk your business continuity team through. We actually it's modeled after Dungeons and Dragons, where the facilitator acts as the dungeon master, basically sets up all of the scenarios, and the team is basically your Dungeons and Dragons team walking through the scenarios, and everybody is responding with the dungeon master answering questions and throwing out challenges, along the way. So training and making sure that your team is actually walking through and addressing these types of scenarios and basically simulating them in real time, real world scenarios is going to have a company be even better prepared if they have the time and resources to do something like that.
I like that idea. On that note, we've come to the end of our second segment. Today, we are talking with Andrew Zeigler from Tempest Risk Management about artificial intelligence, and we will be right back with segment 3, where we're going to talk about ethics and compliance. We'll be right back.